think it's worked. Hello, welcome along to Britball with the Breens, week 3. No Sean tonight. He's away off on some extravagant holiday to Florida later on. And I appreciate we're all on a Wednesday tonight instead of our usual, but I have my reconstruction surgery on Friday, so decided probably best get out of the way now before I start talking even more nonsense because I'm on high-level painkillers. Or at least I hope so anyway. With me tonight, I have our esteemed guest, our 2021 MVP, Sam Bloomfield, quarterback of the Manchester Titans. How you doing, Sam?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me back on.
No problem at all. Glad to have you back. Obviously coming off a pretty spectacular win at the weekend against the Tamworth Phoenix. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, we feel great about that. Obviously, you try to treat every game the same. You try to prepare for all the games the same, stuff like that. But when you know that you're going against Tamworth, or if you're in a different division and you're going against someone who's pitched to be one of the other top teams, you know that it matters just that little bit more, and you're sat there thinking about whether having your starters out on defense at the end of the game is necessary based on what could happen in the return fixture. You're potentially thinking about how many points you might need to score. It does change everything, changes the dynamic when you're in a game like that, as opposed to a game where you get into the fourth quarter and you're 20, 30 points up and you're thinking, okay, we can relax a little bit now. But yeah, we feel great about it. We obviously have been waiting for that for a long time, and we were just happy to be able to put in the performance necessary to come away with a win.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, sorry, I've got a couple of comments here. One asking how many...
People don't realise that for most of my career, I was a linebacker and a safety. And so I actually really enjoy contact. Even when I moved to playing receiver for Lancashire Wolverines in their Premiership days, I really loved blocking and stuff like that. So some of it's designed blocking and some of it is just me getting involved.
See, I think it's a common misconception because I had people tell me all the time, "Oh, you must hate contact, you must hate people coming near you." But I specifically remember one case where our receiver was running back across the formation and a defensive tackle didn't see me coming, and it was the most glorious moment of my career. Watching his cleats fly up in the air.
Oh God, I'm looking for it constantly. If ever I can get, I'm not looking for cheap shots either necessarily.
No.
Because DNs come flying around that corner, they're not looking to be friendly with me. But
no, absolutely not.
I love it.
We've also got.
They give me such a hard time for being sponsored, but while I'm here, I appreciate Stateside giving me my sponsorship this year. They're great. All NFL signed memorabilia. Awesome guys. Awesome company.
There we go. And of course, somebody we both spoke about before coming on as well, Coach Breens.
We were talking about your regime, Steve, and about the fact that I once upon a time played for you at GB Juniors and was in. You allowed me very thankfully to come back and be part of the coaching setup next year as well, which I was really thankful of. So yeah, a lot of love for Steve.
Definitely. And one last one that's up there just now. I'm not sure I want to ask.
It's most liked player, most likable player.
Enough. That's not so bad.
It's because I'm good enough to get a national award off you guys, the national media, to be the MVP of the league last year, but wasn't good enough to win any award or even get a mentioning at my own awards do. So the Manchester Titans, everybody, if you like trophies, don't come here because we ain't giving anybody props.
They've just got used to such a high standard, Sam. They've just decided that you have to keep elevating it every year, otherwise it's just not worth.
Well, we have Monday shout outs after a win. We put Monday shout outs on our own group, and it's an opportunity to shout out people who, yes, maybe perform excellently, and people who maybe aren't in the limelight and making big scores or big defensive plays, but are doing a huge deal, whether that's backroom staff, whether that's coaching, coming up with a great plan. O-lineman, shout out my O-line. But I might have a 7 touchdown pass game, and it's crickets. So I've started shouting myself out. I'm not kidding you. I shout myself out on that thing every week.
Oh man. But kind of going back to the game on Sunday, it was so early in the season for this game. I mean, it's always Tamworth's first game of the season. It's your guys' second. And I'm aware that you did beat them, and you split the series back in 2019, the last competitive year we had. But something about Sunday's game felt different. It felt more of a statement rather than a sort of I think back to when we seen the scoreline from the 2019 one, and I thought, oh wow, that's impressive. But I don't know, it felt more expected this time round. Did that kind of did it kind of feel that way with you guys?
I think if you were to ask both teams before the game who's going to win, they'd very comfortably say themselves, because I think when you get to playing at this level and you're taking this sport so seriously, like almost I take this sport like it's playing quarterback is my job. You have that level of confidence because you have that level of preparation. You have the skilled players next to you. You have the coaches who are putting in the time and the effort and things like that. I think that we expected to go in, and we expected to be able to put up points, and we expected our defense to be able to stop Tamworth's offense. I'm not entirely sure whether we expected our defense to concede only 3 points. Tamworth's touchdown came on that amazing kick return by Chris Wedderburn. But if you ask us, do we expect our offense to do that? Absolutely. In fact, we're massively disappointed with the fact that in that first half, we had, I think, 3 red zone opportunities. Yeah. One of them, I just threw a sail ball, and Johnny Weeks managed to pick it off. And on the other 2, we didn't manage to get a field goal off. And I think we had we made a really good play, and Chris Winrow almost brought in a touchdown right on the back line. But I think it was Junior Shadipo made like an obscene play and managed to get the ball out of there. So we actually came away from that game knowing that we can do significantly better. And I think if you were to ask Tamworth, they would say the same thing. They'll be excited for next time. They're not going to sit there with the tail between the legs for too long. And equally, I know that our guys are already on to watching Sheffield film. They're already going to be on to whoever they've got next. It's just going to be about Tamworth are going to have a different defensive plan next time. They'll have a different offensive plan next time. And we have to be able to match what they're going to try and bring to us next time.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I watched the game, and it was great to see it streamed live, because we don't get to see enough, and I think that's kind of the reality of it. I appreciate some people are questioning, well, what demand is there? But for guys like me, I love sitting watching these games. I think it's great, and to get to see our sport. You were moving the ball fairly well in the first half, but I was going to say, it just didn't seem to happen in the red zone in the first half. So was it a case of adjustments, or was it just a case of we just need to finish these drives when you came out in the second half? Because it did seem to be like that in the second half. You just got that killer touch at the end, and it just kind of blew up from there.
Yeah, so I think the first thing to recognize is that Tamworth's defense is obscene. Like, not only are they coached by Jason Scott, who's, I don't know for sure, but certainly in my experience, the best defensive mind in the UK. Like, going against Tamworth's defense is not like going against any other defense. Mm-hmm. Even playing the Warriors, I've played the Warriors twice now for my sins, and it wasn't that the Warriors did anything complex. It's just that they are physically so much more. They're so much faster. They're so much stronger. All that kind of stuff. But then you go to play Tamworth, and it's not that every single player is faster than you or every single player is stronger than you. You just have so much variation. They run coverages that you would just not expect. We might be in trips to the right-hand side, and they will send their linebacker who's lined up directly over the trips, whilst also stunting like 3 of their linemen. And it's an insane, obscene defense where I think at most points, all 11 players on that defense were either current GB members or had been in the GB squad. And their rotation was like heavy, just GB rotation. So, they did a great job of putting us under pressure and forcing us to take the only things available. It just so happened that in the second half, and I hope Luke, my offensive coordinator, will be okay with me saying this, we didn't make any adjustments. We literally just stopped with a couple of like cute plays, like a couple of things that we were like, okay, we don't need to try and force this because we're making the yards.
Yeah.
And we just kind of hammered away. And every now and again, we knew that those shots would be open. And so when they were open, we managed to capitalize on that. Like, I think the stream misses most of it, but towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter, we got like a 70-yard touchdown bomb to Adam Bamber. Max Gracie Ainscoe up the sideline on a fade. I think we managed to hit him right in between the corner and the safety, and he took that to the house. It wasn't that we made adjustments. We kept with our game plan. We just managed to execute a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from my standpoint, watching, it's kind of the impression I got. It didn't look like you fundamentally changed anything. It was just getting that sort of killer touch when it was needed, I guess. You touched on playing the Warriors and and the blitz, for example. We obviously, one thing we spoke about before coming on was the result with the London Blitz and the Solent Thrashers, which I think caught everybody off guard. I mean, it was a humongous scalp for Solent. Second game in the Premier Division and winning against the London Blitz of all people was incredible. But does that also, and I appreciate as a team you're not going to be looking too far ahead into things, but does that also put a bigger emphasis on that win in the respect that the win over Tamworth, in the respect that avoiding the Warriors is still the best result for anyone, realistically, isn't it? Avoiding the Warriors in the semi-final stage is still the ideal situation. Does that kind of play into it as well a little bit?
I suppose if you were to sit down and talk to me about it, then I would say I'd love to not play the Warriors in the semis and go to the finals and then have an opportunity to beat them in the finals. And I think that in years previous, if you talk to our team, it was always a case of the Warriors were this mythical beast that we could never compete with. But once upon a time, when we first entered the Premiership in 2018, Tamworth thrashed us 60-odd to like 7 and then 60-odd to like 14. It was never a possibility for us to beat Tamworth. However, the next year we came back, we made some changes, we recruited some players. So we're in a situation now where there's talk about the Warriors maybe going to ELF next year. Our team wants to play the Warriors, because if we were to go ahead and let's say we did really well, and let's say we went to Britball, Warriors aren't there, and we played some other team, we beat them, there's kind of a little bit of an asterisk next to our name that we didn't beat the Warriors. So we want to beat the Warriors. We want to play them in the final. I'd rather avoid them in the semi, because then that means that someone has to come up to us. And traveling down to London is a pain. But it certainly was an interesting scoreline. And first off, props to Solent, because I know what it's like to come up into the Premiership and to have to face this mammoth beast. And all I can say is that you guys obviously must have prepared really hard, really long. I know all the time and effort it takes to come in and do something like that. And a lot of people were talking about, well, what's wrong with the blitz and blah blah blah. And yeah, that's obviously a conversation for a certain time, but also, like, well done, Solent. Like, we can't understate how much time and work it takes to to get everything right. And even if they just scrape by them, like, a win is a win. And it means a hell. If you can steal a win against one of those teams, one of those established Premiership South teams, that certainly bodes well for you being able to stay up.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, you would have to expect that, although they'd probably never admit this publicly, seeing Solent beat the Blitz has to put the fear into some of those other teams as well. You know, they have to be sitting there going, well, if they can beat the Blitz, I mean, they can obviously beat us as well. I mean, not that they would ever say that out loud, but you know, there's going to be people thinking that in the back of their mind.
Of course. And when we see, results in the Premiership North, we're looking at them and we're thinking, okay, well, what does that mean for us? Edinburgh playing the Nighthawks this weekend, and some of us are going to go and watch. We're not going to take in a camera or anything. We'll go and watch and have a good time. But we'll be watching and thinking about how all of that affects us. And if one of those teams looks incredibly dominant, we'll be thinking, okay, well, how do we match up with them, and how's that going to affect us and stuff? So there is a level of, like, I wouldn't say intimidation necessarily, but you will certainly be having those southern teams, I think, will certainly now be spending a bit more time watching Solent game film than they would have done previously.
Yeah, definitely. We actually had another comment from Coach Rains. I actually agree with this. I think, especially at the top end of our game, we'd love to see more of these games being streamed. Certainly when we talked about the end of the university season, and there was this big culmination into finals day, and it was, I watched both games, and I mean, I know I'm maybe in a minority here, but I loved sitting just watching these games being played. So I would like to see more stuff get shared, more streams of games, especially at the top end of it.
Yeah, I think it is something that BAFA have, I believe, been in contact with teams about, but I don't know how far down the line they are talking about doing that. And I think that we held our stream on Sunday, and we left it late to mention the stream because we wanted to drive up sales of people who are coming to our stadium, and some people are unhappy about paying £5 to come watch a football game, but ultimately, we feel like we are that good of a team that you should pay for the privilege to come and watch the show. And people might not like that, but that's kind of our mentality of, we put up high numbers traditionally on offense. We get big hits on defense and plenty of turnovers and stuff like that. So it is a show, and you come and watch, and we've got the bar open. You're in a stadium. It's a beautiful day. We had, I think, I could be wrong here, but I think it was close to 250 people sat in the stands. We had 190 ticket sales, and then the players get one person free. We have the list, but we've not done the numbers yet, but close to 250. And then the stream itself, so it's still growing now, but 5,500 people with an average watch time of, I think, like 30 to 45 minutes before switching off. So that's comparable, by the way, with Sky Sports netball coverage. I'm sure there's loads of netball fans on this stream right now, but netball is actually like quite a highly watched sport in terms of being online and streams. Sky Sports will stream that, and they're getting 5,000, 6,000, stuff like that. We got the same for our game on Sunday, along with 250 people through the door. Like, the opportunity is there. If you pick your game of the week, like, I would love to get back home after practice on Sunday and watch the EKP and Northumberland game. I'd absolutely love it. But it's expensive. And the thing is, not only is it expensive, but the organization of it all, it was tough for us to get that done in 2 weeks, basically. And, we got some commentators, thankfully, who it's just two guys who volunteered from the team. And, there's lots of comments. This is one thing, this is a negative thing, really. There's lots of comments on the stream about how biased they were and stuff like that. Well, ultimately, these guys know our team. They're from our team, and they want to see our team be successful. We could not put the stream on, or we could put the stream on with no commentary, and you might not know what's going on in the game. And I think I'd rather watch just any good game of UK American football with a little bit of commentary. I don't care how biased it is, than not have that at all.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the part of it as well. I mean, like, we're asking people that genuinely this isn't what they do for a living, right? They don't commentate on things for a living.
We didn't pay
And
them.
you know,
They just offered to be up there and get critiqued on YouTube for 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of part of it as well, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, certainly I'd like to see more of it. I mean, I'm one of those people that would sit and watch games. You know, we're just, again, it's been saying, you know, 5K views, same sort of sentiment you were echoing as well. And you know, he's saying there is a market for it. I think there is. I mean, I genuinely believe there is, but it needs to be like, it's one thing that, you know, I've seen a comment be made about, you know, how the people watching it are the people that don't have a game that week, and that's probably fair. But like, I always feel like there needs to be more done to try and bring more people in who wouldn't normally follow it, to try and like get them in to watch and stuff. And I certainly think, you know, people would watch it if they were given a chance to. So it was good to see that game go out live. So it was a good watch. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure you enjoyed it as well. Before we kind of carry on into our usual way of doing things, I would like to point out a few people mentioned last week that they thought I was watching TV off in the distance last week and not speaking to my guest. I have two screens, so I had my guest up on the other screen, so I've fixed that this week, so I'm actually looking at you. Just thought I'd clarify that. I wasn't just sitting there going, "No, that's quite good. I'm quite enjoying what's over there." It's just my second screen was up here. Right, let's see if I can do this without completely breaking everything. I make no promises. That one there. And is it going to work? Is it? It's going a bit slow. It's struggling a little bit.
There we go.
There we go. Finally got there eventually. No change here, thankfully. We're heading into week 3 and there's still no change, so that's all good.
Well, there's consequences now, aren't there? So,
well, I don't know, because there was something came out about it saying that the red and yellow card system was gone, which I thought was, which for me, I mean, the red and yellow card system was probably the best decision Bath I've made in years.
It's a case by case basis now, isn't it?
Which I'm not sure I understand how that's going to work. But you know, but we'll wait.
Maybe if your team's absolutely ravaged by COVID, maybe they'll give you a pass, and otherwise, maybe they won't. Maybe that's why they kept it in.
I can kind of understand that, but I do also kind of feel along the lines of, you know, surely you just go with the red yellow card system and people can appeal it based on that sort of thing. Look, we had 25 COVID positive guys. Well, what do you want us to do? Right, fair enough. But yeah, I don't understand why it was kind of just almost scrapped. But I digress. I know it was a short week, so there wasn't too much in us for play of the week this week. We did get a good submission from the Lancashire Wolverines, but I can't get a hold of it just now, unfortunately. It was a really nice catch. If we get it, we'll try and share it again at some point, but we'll go with what we've got. But before we go on to the couple of clips we could get a hold of, I would quite like to share this because honestly, it was absolutely comedy gold. So this was from Coach Rains, and this is one of their defensive linemen, Jack Bradford, and he hit a running back so hard that he's left.
He's not got Riddell in his forearm, has he?
He's got, if this ever opens up, he's got the Riddell printed up.
Linebackers everywhere over the age of 35 are delighted that their old saying of hit him with your Riddell logo has actually paid off for once.
That's opened on the other screen. There we go, as I expected. Right, let me try and move this across. Yeah, right in his up. A nice little a nice little print, clearly from the front of a face cage. I mean, that has to be a fumble, surely. You drop the ball if that happens to you, surely.
I can't even figure how that's happened. His arms must have been on the floor or something. God.
But yeah,
nice.
So Yeah, I quite enjoyed that one. That gave me a good laugh. So thanks to Coach Breens for sending that one in to us. We have, and I'm gonna. It's go. I don't know why it's going so slow tonight. I'd love to say it's because I've got dodgy internet or something, but I think I've just got a cheap computer. So
Right.
who knows? This is why Sean does all the technology stuff, and I do the data, the stats. So this is an entry from the Wembley Stallions from their win over the London Blitz B. If it ever decides to load on me. Here we go. So a few things I wanted to point out was the both the backs in sort of max protection. I think it's 42 that scores the touchdown. And so we'll just run it through. Hopefully that kind of comes through. It's a bit choppy, is it? Just to the back corner of the end zone. So
can't quite.
I don't know why it's going so choppy. See if, because I'm looking at it happening on the live stream as well, and it's like well behind and a bit choppy.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's being like
that. Does he run a corner route and QB puts it
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's a little bit better now.
And a nice little toe tap on the sideline. Yeah, as I say, I'm not really sure why it's so sluggish, but there's not much I can do about that just now, unfortunately. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I think the one thing that kind of stands out to me is kind of the alignment of the running backs straight away. I mean, I don't know if they're running some sort of outside zone system because they are hella wide.
Yeah, they're behind tackles, aren't they?
Yeah, they are very, very wide in the backfield. So I don't know if this is supposed to be some sort of outside zone scheme.
Also a running threat because you can then run kind of a triple option.
Yeah, but no, I'll see. I'll play it. See if it'll even play a little bit smoother. But it doesn't seem like it's going to play ball with me. But yeah, it's a corner route from a 42. There's a max protect. There's 3 guys in there, and it's a nice.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I can see it. It's nice positioning of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Right into the corner. Only his receiver can get it. So it's good all around in that respect. I mean, I can't imagine these are going to play any smoother, but I'll give it my best go. So we had this one sent in from the Scunthorpe Alphas, and that was from their big win against. Look how slow this is going.
I hope they're playing in their white kit. That is one of the nicest kits in Britball, in my opinion. Scunthorpe's white kit. They're
not playing in it this time round. They're in blue this time. Not sure how I feel about the South Lincolnshire Lightning kit myself, to be honest. But we've got sound as well.
The bright yellow is not doing it for me. It's not quite as bad as Lancashire Wolverines lime green, so I'm thankful I don't have to see that.
I think this is Gary. Yeah.
Nice one, Gary.
Nice going, Gary. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to be in the right place. Generally, I thought it was a pretty poor throw overall, but he still has to make the play.
Look, is he the apex there, or is he the corner or the apex? I can't tell.
It must be the Gary. Come on, Gary. We don't normally end up with a sound on them, so that was quite good. That
look at Gary's little face; he's absolutely buzzing. Well done, Gary.
He's dead happy with himself, is he? I'll see if it's actually gonna. Is it gonna play ball with me, or is it just gonna stay open?
I think
like
your
that?
camera's dropped a little. There you go.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could spot the exit full screen bit, but it's just having none of it with me. It's just my computer's just had enough. It's just taking forever. I don't know what's going on with it just now. It's not happy with me either way. We do have one other one, if I can actually get this to play. Yeah, I can only apologize for the poor quality and speed of my computer, but such is life. Is it going to load up? Who knows? It's kind of anyone's guess at the moment what it's going to do. I believe this is from an. I can't see it yet, but I believe this is an under 19s maybe.
Okay.
No, it's crashed. It's crashed on me. I'll just wait. I'll see if I can get it to come up, and we'll come back to it.
Okay, yeah.
If we get to this for the time being, because I don't know what I do. Apologize at the moment, but it's just not happening for me.
I'm not sure if it's your
I'm having
internet
a nightmare, Sam,
cutting out or whether it's mine.
A nightmare. I think it's mine, but I also think it's my computer.
I think that might have helped a little.
I'll see if I can. Yeah, well, now that I've kind of shut that down, but need to go on to my game of the week, so I'll quickly bring that other screen back up, and then we'll get rid of it because it seems to be causing all sorts of havoc. Yeah, I mean, I've seen your comment, Chris, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the idea that BAFA have agreed to pay for anything sounds distinctly false. Let's see if it. Yeah, I do need a new computer. That is 100% accurate, but I don't believe that BAFA will pay for it. It's not. I'll just go through the banners as normal. But our game of the week is the Northumberland Vikings against the East Kilbride Pirates. Obviously, this is a big game in Division 1 between arguably two of the teams that will be favoured to win this division. Although right now the Yorkshire Rams probably feel like they've got something to say about it. This is a big game. When they played back in 2019, it was, I believe, this game was streamed as well at some point, and it was really close. There was a lot of penalties in that game at the time, but outside of that, Northumberland just kind of squeaked out the win. Since then, they sort of went on. The two teams had completely different divisions, sort of in the restructured thing for last year, the COVID season. Where the Vikings played a lot of Division 2 and associate teams, and the East Kilbride Pirates had a lot of the similar teams that play this year. Plus, they also had the Edinburgh Wolves, who they split the season series with. So, going into this game, the Vikings have already played twice. They've won comfortably. On the Northumberland Vikings note, I said last week, and I stared straight down the camera when I told the Glasgow Tigers that they would onside kick it at some point and to not let them get an onside kick recovery. And Northumberland beautifully tagged us in an Instagram story of an onside kick recovery, which was just spectacular.
Glasgow.
So, Northumberland, can we kind of make this like some sort of mini series back and forth or something where you tag us in an onside kick you're successful in every single week? Because I was absolutely wetting myself laughing for about an hour, whilst also simultaneously being filled with nothing but rage at Glasgow. So, I'm all for it if you can kind of if you can keep sending those into us as well. And I'll keep warning the opposition if you keep delivering and sending them to us. I'm 100% for it. So
every time they try one and don't get it, the opposition's going to tweet you instead.
And I'm okay with that too. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like this, this is nothing against the Vikings at all. I mean, I'm delighted that they keep getting away with it. It's actually coming. It might actually coming up now. But I want, if they can keep tagging us in them, then that's fine. But I will continually keep warning their opponents. So the East Kilbride Pirates, at some point in the game, the Northumberland Vikings will attempt an onside kick. Please don't be yet another victim. A team I have warned and warned, but they will not listen to me. So, outside of that, I think the Pirates haven't played. The Vikings have played and won twice comfortably. I think that makes them the favourites going into this game. They're also the home team. I do think it'll be tight, but I'm anticipating the Vikings get the job done on Sunday. Sam?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to know because if we look back to last year, and I'm aware that obviously things can change drastically. Northumberland, I believe, pretty much dominated their division. We actually ended up hosting Northumberland last year for a scrimmage. It was a game, but put it as a scrimmage, and they were good. They certainly gave us a challenge, especially in the first quarter, maybe even first two quarters. I can't remember specifically what kind of the scoreline was. But they've got the size up front that you need. They've got speed on the back end. They've got the skill position players, and I'm confident that they've probably barely lost anybody and gained quite a few, because success begets success. People want to be part of a successful program. Bryce runs a really good program there. And then you look at EKP, and again, really strong against all the opponents in their division. They beat a Premiership team. I have it on semi-good authority that for the return fixture where the Wolves won, the Wolves ended up getting Thomas Campbell back, TC, who's GB running back, very, very talented. And he may have been quite instrumental in the Wolves' victory. And he wasn't there, I believe, for the first game. I'm happy to admit that I'm wrong about that, if that is the case. But EKP, even when they dropped out the Premiership, into 2018, we played them twice that year. They were no pushovers. Like, they weren't an easy team or anything like that. They were really solid, really aggressive. Every Scottish person, every time that they go to hit you, I don't know if this is Scotland versus Scotland or just Scotland versus England. They want to kill you and themselves via that one particular hit. And so they must be thinking, there is no other opportunity I'm going to get here to hit this player. So I'm going to put absolutely everything I can into destroying this person's life. And that's every single hit against the Scottish. So I can only say that EKP are the exact same as, Edinburgh and things like that. And, from my interactions with the GB guys at East Kilbride, they have some really talented guys there. I really wish this game was streamed, because I bet it's going to be very, very exciting. In terms of, I think my head says Northumberland, but my heart says EKP.
Okay.
I think that EKP will be very tough defensive football. And, Neil Bapty is still a very, very talented quarterback. And whether he's doing it on the air or with his feet, you can't count him out. I wouldn't be shocked for this game to go either way. But it's a very, very good matchup. Probably or possibly Division 1 decider. There's a couple of other teams you can throw in there, but possibly this.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Sean's went with the Pirates on this one. He's went against me. I must admit, we disagree on a lot more results this year than normal. It's been quite unusual.
That's because you've not got Prem teams facing Div 2 teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's true. That is very true. There you go.
I've not downloaded the update, so I won't be on tonight, Jack.
Confirmation that what you said was true.
Oh, Thomas Campbell, yeah, TC.
And that, yeah, I mean, I think that's regarding the hits.
Yeah, Tamworth are the same. Politically sit on the fence there. Okay, Dan, I'm going EKP. I'm going EKP. Bryce, don't hate me.
Sam, you've been watching me too much, I think, because if you've ever noticed, I am quite wishy-washy when I'm doing these things.
Yeah.
I try not to be, but I like
don't want to upset anybody. You don't want to burn any bridges for anyone who might one day move to Manchester and want to come and join the Titans.
Exactly. So definitely, like I try to give us best evaluation as I can, but I want to promote teams, not just always slate them. But there's sometimes you just have to accept that a team's not going to win. Right. Anyway, we'll kind of carry on. We'll start running through the games. I've got Sean's prediction for all the games, but you're kind of on your own on this one because this is my team. So Aberdeen Roughnecks against the Dumfries Hunters. We
Aberdeen,
won.
you played one game and won. Is that right?
Yeah, so we won 13-6 against Clyde Valley, and Dumfries lost 30. I want to say 32-12 against the Highland Stags. The Hunters generally have been one of those playoff level teams the last few years. Obviously, Aberdeen dropped down to Division 2 after a difficult 2021. I keep forgetting what year we're in. So both these teams are incredibly physical. We know how physical the Dumfries Hunters are, and for all the times I've seen them and I've played against them, they're definitely the kind of people. Now there we go. There's Tom. 33-12 was the Stags score. Did I say 32? I was close. They're extremely physical side, and they've got some really good guys in the line. So I will not be making any sort of prediction on this game because, as I've always said, you will get no bulletin board material out of me ever. So I will not be doing.
That's all we ever looked for. Okay, I'm going to make an outlandish prediction based off literally just what you said and the results from last year. If Dumfries are traditionally kind of up there on playoff level, from talking to Sean, believe that Aberdeen are certainly changing the narrative about Aberdeen Roughnecks, and things are really starting to look positive. Possibly the Hunters is one step too far at this point in the season, but I suppose we'll see.
Yeah. Sean's went with Aberdeen on this one, which I don't thank him for at all, to be honest. You're just getting abuse now. Right, we'll kind of move on to the Berkshire Renegades and the East Essex Sabres. Do you want to take this one, or would you like me to go first?
The Sabres played another team from Essex last week. Is that right?
The East Kent Mavericks.
And did the Sabres squeak to win? Was this the back and forth one, or was that a different team?
I think it was a different team because I think it was like a one-score game. I think it was like
Cambridgeshire Cats.
That was the one where the Cats came from like 25-6 down and won 40-25. That was an unbelievable game by all reports. But this one was quite a tight one with the Sabres and the Mavericks. Berkshire, another team that they took last year off. They had a difficult year. They sat out the season. I've not heard too much about them, to be honest, since I know their under-19s recently pulled out of the season, but generally I've not heard a whole heap out of them.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if they pulled out of last year, that doesn't sound like it bodes well. But what if they've gone and done like a Halton Spartans, where they pulled out of last year, gave themselves time to rebuild, and maybe they come back a little bit stronger? My gut feeling would be that Sabres have played a game, they squeak to win. That takes a little bit of character. Maybe Berkshire are a little bit too early doors. Maybe they're thin on numbers. If last year was that, my gut would have to say, the Sabres based on last year and on the fact that the Sabres have managed to play a game and get a win.
Yeah, I mean, I know Sean ranked the Renegades quite highly in his power rankings, and I think I don't want to say we disagreed on this one a lot. It was more just I was more cautious because I'm not sure what to expect out of them. I mean, they might come in and just absolutely blow teams away, but I'm not as convinced as he was. I think the fact that the Sabres have played a game and they managed to really sort of grind out a win is going to be the telling factor, and I think the Sabres will win. There it goes. The Renegades are known. They didn't play in 21. Will be interesting. If Sabres win this, they'll be favourite for the SFC2 East, which is another interesting one as well, because certainly the Sabres made leaps last year, and they managed to beat the Spartans. Yeah, I mean, there is that. Didn't play. I mean, that was the thing. The same thing happened with a couple of clubs. So it's it depends on the situation really as to what happened with them. We don't really know too much about it. Yeah. I am looking forward to this one. I think this could be a cracking game of football. We've said for a few years here that the Birmingham Bulls were a Division 1 team, so I'm glad they made the bump up despite the COVID season last year. Nottingham, they were well beaten by Chester in the end, but Chester seemed like just a completely different team than maybe 2 years ago. So I'm not sure I read too much into it. Nottingham get their quarterback this week because he was playing in the North-South game, so was unavailable to them. Birmingham Bulls are extremely aggressive defensively. I mean, a lot of man coverage and sending the house. Certainly was the experience I had of them as well.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think the experience of the Caesars and the fact they've played a game will be the factor for me. I think the Caesars will win the game, but I think it'll be incredibly close.
Yeah, so we played the Birmingham Bulls in pre-season actually this year. They came to visit us at the end of our camp weekend, and it was a good game. I don't want to really talk about how it went, but they were a very aggressive team and they did blitz a lot, and they did have guys who actively wanted to, come and hit our linemen and really want to lay hits and things like that. I'm not set. And we played Nottingham Caesars last year in a game, and their linebacking core is very, very, very good. They have a couple of guys there. I think his name's Ash. I think his nickname's Bash. And there's another youngish guy as well who's extremely tall. And I felt like those guys were, pretty high level linebackers. And on the offensive side for Nottingham, Grant's got a pretty good thing going there. I think he's installed not necessarily like a complex playbook, but a playbook where a defensive coordinator is going to have to spend a long time scouting for all the possibilities. I imagine the reality is that Caesars probably have a reasonable playbook, but loads of formations. And so therefore they'll be able to run like a ton of the same stuff, but out of different formations. And as a defensive coordinator, that's obviously a massive headache because you need your guys prepared for every eventuality out of every formation.
Yeah.
I would go with the Caesars on this, on the fact that they've played a game, on the fact that I think the Caesars defense probably has what it takes. I think the Caesars offense can move the ball against that Bulls defense, assuming they're using the same scheme that when we played them. The Bulls are playing their first game of the year. Just to add to what you said there about playing Chester, I do think that Chester are an exceptionally good team. They've got a lot of talented players there, a couple of GB guys, maybe a couple more to add after a year or two. They're really on the up, and I think that they'll definitely be in the conversation when it comes to the end of the year for Div 1.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I certainly think that they're looking stronger and stronger every week, and their offense is incredibly explosive. Nottingham and Chester was a great game. I mean, this is the bar for the Birmingham Bulls. I mean, Chester are a long-established Division 1 team. I think this is kind of the bar. This is where Birmingham find out, are we Division 1 ready or not? Not necessarily by beating the Romans, but if this is a tight game and they play really well, then ultimately your goal is to win the game. But I think this is where they see where they are in terms of the rest of their division, which is an extremely tough division as it is.
Very tough.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, the first game of the season was a defeat, but I think, I think they can take a lot. They still managed to put up a fair amount of points and that, so I'm not too concerned about the Caesars.
I think Caesars had a very successful pre-season against the Sheffield Giants.
Yeah.
Could be a good year for Nottingham. I think they take this game.
Bristol Apache and the Cornwall Monarchs. I was kind of looking forward to this one last year. The Cornwall Monarchs took a big jump. I mean, as we said last week, I mean, I think that area there's kind of referred to as like the Bermuda Triangle. Like teams move all across between sort of 3-4 teams. And the Apache clearly came out the stronger, and the Monarchs looked decent until they came up against the Apache, and then they went on to lose to the Wyverns. I think they'll have built on last year. I think they'll feel a bit stronger going into this one, but I also think that the Apache are probably the strongest team in that division, and I'd be surprised to see Cornwall win.
Yeah, I know very, very little about these teams. As far away from me as you can possibly get. I think that it's so difficult for me to overlook the connections that Bristol likely have, and I imagine that Cornwall probably don't have the same level of reach or recruitment ability around them as Bristol will. I think that even if Bristol pick up a few Filton guys or something like that, it will really bolster the team. And it's my uneducated opinion that Bristol probably would be in a good position to win this game and probably go far this year, based on the fact that just Filton and UWE are doing so well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Jack, I kind of agree with you in a way. I think there are some divisions where that's maybe not necessarily the case. I mean, it does depend, but certainly the Premier Division is more of a one loss can really sort of derail your entire season than others. So yeah, in many ways I kind of agree with you on that one. So I'm not ruling Nottingham out at all in the slightest. But it's still a way back from that first loss. Manchester's probably at the same travel time as to Bristol as it is down to Cornwall. Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things I have questioned. I spoke about how in week one the Crew Railroaders and Lee Miners effectively became a game that influenced playoffs immediately in week one. It has crossed my mind that if one of those two teams has to travel up to play the Highland Stags, how much of an absolute shit show that bus journey would be.
Oh my God. Do you think they'd get to the game sober or at all?
I mean, I'd love to know how many hours that would be, because it's got to be one of the longer journeys. I mean,
yeah.
I went from Aberdeen to Chester, but even I think even that's probably shorter than that one as well. So it did cross my mind for being some length of journey. Chester Romers and the Shropshire Revolution. I mean, I must admit, before the season started, I would have been quite excited about this game.
Yeah,
not so much anymore.
Yeah, I feel like Chester have given us a good indication as to who they are, and I don't know what's happened or happening in Shropshire. I think that is a really established team.
Yeah.
You probably have plenty of established players and talent. Not sure what's happened in those first sort of two games. I mean, Leicester, I can understand a lot more than the Halton game, but the fact that Shropshire narrowly lost to Halton was not something I was expecting. But I think the Chester will just be too much, far too much.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I mean, they were dead upset with Sean when he didn't put them in their top 10 of the power rankings division.
They did not like. Well, they liked it, but they didn't like it, did they?
And then obviously they were upset by Halton, and I think I must admit I did expect them to get beat by Leicester, but when they I appreciate they only got half a game against them the previous year, but they looked so sound defensively against them, and obviously this year it's just not really been the same for them. And I think they're not they're not scoring points either. They're not scoring many points in their first two games. And I think the reality you're going to see with teams against Chester this year is that offense is going to be the best defense. You have to score points. And, I think that's going to be the downfall of Shropshire in this game as well. I think Chester Romans will just score too many points.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate now sounds like a Michael Owen kind of take there. If you score more points, you win the game. I just mean, they're not going to be able to keep up.
It's a good point, though, because I know that the DC for Shropshire Revolution, Alistair Jarvis, is a really smart guy, played at Tamworth for a few years, went back to Shropshire after, starting his career there. He'll be running probably a pretty sound defense. There'll be secure tacklers. They'll have, good coverage reading skills, I'm sure. But ultimately, if your defense is on the field for a significantly long time and you have potentially a talented offense like Leicester or like Chester that can score at will, if your offense isn't able to go out there and put up some scores and wear their defense down and take some time off the clock, then all you're going to get is the other team score. You need the offensive firepower to be able to give your defense the ability to have a breather, to take some risks, do things like that. Otherwise, all the turnovers that you might get, all the third down stops, they don't really mean a whole lot, because in no time, your defense will be back on the pitch.
Absolutely. So I think they do need to get that offense going. Chester have conceded a fair few points historically anyway, so maybe that's a good time to get it going, but I just think they'll be outpaced in the end. Too many points from the Romans for me. This one. So this is from my dad. So the longest trip they had was from Aberdeen to go to Brighton.
Brighton B-52 Bombers. Unbelievable. I think the longest trip I've ever had to do was Preston to Portsmouth for a UCLan University game, and that was a good 8-hour journey. So I can only imagine. Surely you split that up over a week or something. My God.
But no, I mean, it's unbelievable when you look at it like that. I mean, Chester. I have seen Chester's O-line, and they are big dudes. Certainly, their quarterback. I think he's 6'10" or something like that as well.
Byron, yeah.
Byron, yeah, and the fact that he doesn't completely dwarf them kind of tells you all you need to know about the size of them as well.
Yeah, so Chester do have a very large offensive line. I think one of their tackles is GB. I think his name's Mike Thompson. Sorry, I forgot that wrong, Mike. Really good offensive line. Byron has the view and he has the arm, and they've got some really talented receivers as well. And then when you back that up with solid guys on defense, you've got all the makings of a championship team.
Definitely. Merv, we kind of just covered it at the start, just a brief breakdown of what was going on. So, if you can watch about it later as well, and just avoid the bit where I tried to do a play of the week, because that went horribly, horribly wrong for me. Not sure how the Sabres would win the SFC2 East as they're not in it. Which are they? They're South, aren't they? SFC2 South, I believe.
I'm known for my Division 2 knowledge, but I'm lost on this one.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the SFC2 South, Ian. But if you can correct me on that one. Best thing about the season starting is I don't have to face them in training anymore. I'm assuming he's speaking about his own offensive line, because by the looks of it, he plays for Chester. I mean, certainly, they're a very good football team and a very good offense as well. I have to turn off that comment.
I feel the same, Anthony, about our defense.
Next one's the Colchester Gladiators and the Ipswich Cardinals. Now, these guys met last year, and I'm sorry if you can hear zipping and unzipping and dragging of stuff. The wife's decided now's a good time to do housework right next to me. Colchester Gladiators, Ipswich Cardinals, they faced off. I believe they split the series last year. The Gladiators were one of my favourites for that division going into this year, and then they lost to Ouse Valley in a 6-0 game in week one, which was kind of a little bit of a shock because they beat them quite comfortably the year before. The Cardinals seemed to make quite a lot of improvements last year, and I'm hedging towards them continuing on that road. I mean, I kind of feel like if you can make improvements in what last season was, you should be able to continue that into this year. So I'm kind of banking on that, and I think Ipswich win this one, but I think it'll be close.
I'm going to not comment because I have absolutely no idea. The last time I had any inkling of the Colchester Gladiators was way back in like 2010 when I knew a few people there. That's as far as my knowledge stretches.
Yeah, as Ian was saying, he's just replying that they are in the south. I got it right. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I mean, I think if you'd asked me before seeing that Ouse Valley score, I would have said the Colchester Gladiators would win, but I kind of feel like getting shut out and, yeah, okay, they only conceded 6 and it was the first game of the season, but I don't know. I just I was a bit kind of let down by it, and maybe I am kind of riding on the fact that maybe Ipswich have continued to improve, but we'll certainly know more about it after this week anyway. Next one up was the Glasgow Tigers and the Lancashire Wolverines. So Glasgow have had a pretty tough start to the year. They went down to play the Yorkshire Rams and got thumped to the tune of 80 points. And then they played against Northumberland and they got beat quite comfortably then as well. And it's not really going to get much easier. I mean, this Lancashire Wolverines offense is quite explosive as well. And I mean, yeah, they won a tight game at the weekend, but, they still put up, I think, 34 points, for example. So I'm not holding out much hope for Glasgow. Ultimately, they have to be looking at where they can win games to try and stay up in this division already. Because they've got the Wolverines this weekend, and then the only 2 teams they then haven't played are East Kilbride and the Goliaths. So, it could paint a pretty ugly picture after this game. The defense obviously did a much better job than they did against the Rams. And take nothing away from the Rams, they looked really good on tape. But yeah, I'm concerned for the Glasgow Tigers in this one as well.
Yeah, so I know the Lancashire Wolverines pretty well. I used to play there, strong connections via university from there, and I know a lot of their players really well. For me, if from purely from the Lancashire Wolverines perspective, this is a trap game. So there's nothing for the Wolverines to gain from this game. All they can do is lose. Now, that's either they lose the game, which would be an absolute gobsmack, or they don't perform to everybody's expectations, and then people look at the Wolverines as kind of a lesser team than those other teams in their division. And it's one of those games where you have to be really focused. And if you want to go out there and put on the performance where people say, "Oh, the Wolverines are really dominant; they're in with a chance to, get promotion or looking at the playoffs, things like that," they have to go out and put on an absolutely dominant performance. Because if they score less than what Yorkshire did, then Yorkshire in everyone's minds are immediately better. Mm-hmm. And teams match up differently to one another. That might not be the case, but ultimately, in terms of perception from the outside, outsider eyes, it really is a trap game for the Wolverines, and therefore the opposite for the Glasgow Tigers. They have everything to gain. They can go out there and do absolutely nothing and get trounced 80-0, and the Glasgow Tigers have just done exactly what everyone was expecting to happen. But if they go out there and they manage to get a few scores on the board on what I hope the Wolverines, don't mind me saying, or are happy to prove me wrong, is a shaky defense, then all of a sudden the Glasgow Tigers start to look a little bit like they've got some kind of moral victory from it.
Yeah, definitely.
But ultimately, the main loser of this day is probably going to be the Wolverines, because they'll be wearing their lime green kit, and so therefore looking like Boris Johnson when he's pretending to help the public. Sorry, Wolverines, but you've done it to yourselves.
Yeah, I think I got a bit of a sarcastic laugh when I think they were they playing you last year? And I said that maybe their best hope was the fact that they could blind you with their blindingly bright kit.
Yes,
And
they
I
are
got met with
lollipop men and women.
I got met with a few sarcastic from the Wolverines. They weren't happy with that one. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It's the Wolverines' game to lose. So they need to kind of go and put on a good show of it. The Hereford Stampede and the Swindon Storm. Now, the Stampede are new they obviously played last year, but they're new into the leagues. The Swindon Storm have been established now. It'd been kind of a reoccurring theme for us that we'd been speaking about the Storm, saying, they won the games they should win. They got beat comfortably in the games that they should be competing in but weren't. The Stampede were beat comfortably by the Northants Knights, which I've got a feeling everyone is going to be in that division this year. So this is one of those games. If you're the Swindon Storm, for me, I believe they played last year and they beat the Stampede. Someone might correct me on that one, but I'm fairly confident they played each other last year. They need to win this game if their ambitions are the playoffs and where they want to take it from there. That this is a game they have to win. I don't know how far Hereford is from Swindon. My geography is not that strong, but yeah, I'm putting my faith in the Storm, and I think they win this game.
I know very little. All I knew was that Hereford were new and that Swindon were established. So that would be where my money would go.
Yeah. There's I mean, that's true. I mean, you're not going to clash with anyone. That's
very true.
Sure. Unlike the teams in our division, I must admit. So the Kings playing like a dark purple, the Stags playing dark green, and the Hunters playing a dark green with purple. And none of them have a away kit.
Oh, what a great decision-making group.
So certainly, it's probably a relief that I'm not playing, because I'm red and green colorblind, so we could never use their red kit.
Lovely. Don't Aberdeen have I know their kit's white.
Yes, we have a red and a white. So
okay.
We always had to play in white when we came up against teams like that, for me, because I couldn't have hoped to have seen. Not that it helped if you ask any people I played with. But certainly that was one of those things. But yeah, I mean, it is a fair point. At least they don't clash with anyone, because no one would wear something that audacious. The next one up, the Highland Stags and Dunfermline Kings. This is one of those. It's quite a lengthy trip up to Invergordon. For the Kings played Clyde Valley last week and got beat very comfortably, 38 or 39-0. I believe it was 38. The Stags are trying to establish themselves as the front runners in this division, and they got a comfortable win against the Hunters. It's a long way to travel. I know how meticulous Coach Don Edmonston is as well. So you'll prepare them. They got a win up there last year, which was one of those that was a bit of a shock. I'm just not as convinced by it this year. I think the Stags are going to have too much for this one.
Yeah, there's another podcast where someone refuses to bet against Don Edmondson, and as much respect as I have for Don from the times where we played Edinburgh and he was there, very tough teams that he put together. Ultimately, you're only as strong as your players are. You can put a great scheme together, but if the players aren't performing at a high level and the opposition are performing at a high level, then you might get there one day but not that day. So if the Stags have got a comfortable win against an aggressive Hunters team, my feeling would be that the Stags will win this one.
I am aware that there is a rookie show on at 8:30, so I'll need to speed up my process. It's me that's dragging this out a little bit with the film. So, Nottingham Raiders and Darlington Steam. I banked on Darlington to beat the Gateshead Senators and they lost 14-12. I said Nottingham would win at the weekend and they did so comfortably. I've to and froed several times on this game. But despite the fact me saying I'm on the steam train, I am actually going to back Nottingham for this one.
I don't know. I heard a lot about Darlington, and that's all I know. I have a friend, Danny Kane, who plays for Nottingham. So big up Danny Kane. Go and get the win.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of all agree with that statement as well. Not that you'll be thanking me for not picking them to win, I guess. The Leicester Falcons and the Halton Spartans. I mean, massive props to Halton for staying in Division 1, when after what the troubles they had. Massive props to Halton for then going out and beating Shropshire in week 1, but this is different gravy this week. Leicester Falcons got a good win last week, and I expect them to kind of replicate that this week.
Yeah, I think it'll be a similar scoreline to what the Falcons did to Shropshire the other week.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those. If you're Halton, this isn't the game you're looking at, right? You're not too concerned about losing this game. It's just about small victories really throughout. I actually think you're being slightly generous to Halton there. I think it might well be more than that. The Lincolnshire Bombers and the Doncaster Mustangs. First game these two have played. Lincolnshire had a really, really torrid time in 2021. They really struggled. They went from a playoff team the last, I think, 3 years to really getting battered around a lot. But then they bounced back towards the end of the season. You could argue that part of the problem was they were playing Northants and they were playing Nottingham Caesars, but they just really struggled throughout the year. Doncaster had a good bounce back year after relegation in 2019. I think I'm kind of just going to go with form on this one. I think Doncaster looked quite good. They had a lot of big guys in last season, and I think they'll kind of carry that into this year. And for me, they're one of the Division 2 North favourites. So, I expect the Mustangs to win this one.
Yeah, everything I saw of last year seemed to suggest that Doncaster were certainly on the up and having a successful time of rebuilding. So, not something I'm super clued up on, but I would probably go Mustangs.
Yeah. This could be an interesting one. The London Warriors and the Bristol Aztecs. Now, we spoke before and saying about, everyone, keeps thinking every year, like maybe this is going to be a year where we see kind of Bristol break into it. But the Warriors have kind of already started out the season showing that they are still the London Warriors, and that hasn't really changed. This game tells us more about Bristol than it ever will about the Warriors, in my opinion. If they keep this night close and it's a tight game, then maybe we're sitting going, well, looking at the Solent and the Blitz result, maybe the Aztecs are the team to take over the second spot in that division. Who knows? But realistically, I still just expect the Warriors just to get it done comfortably.
Yeah, I think that we talked about a trap game for the Wolverines against the Tigers. I think every game for the Warriors is a trap game. Like, if the Warriors don't perform, then all of a sudden the questions are the Warriors dropping off? Are they this? Are they that? Like, a 44-3 victory over Solent, is that what it was for the Warriors in the first week? Like, 44-3, a 41-point differential is not... I don't think that people realize how hard work that is, especially in the Premiership. Like, it's not to be sniffed at. No. That's a lot of hard work and a lot of execution. And, in this game, could we see the Bristol Aztecs finally make the jump to be in that kind of second? I don't know. They might even be saying first team in the Premiership South. Well, maybe. But as you said, and as we said before we even started the live, because of UWE, because of Filton, we've been kind of waiting for Bristol to do that for years now, but it just hasn't happened. And, there'll be loads of contributing factors for that. But obviously, I would pick the Warriors to win. It would be silly not to. But it would be nice to see Bristol really making that push for, are the Blitz on a down year, and is it the Bristol Aztecs time finally, with all the recruitment and all the effort they've made and all the work they've put in? Could be. It's Bristol's game to kind of make a statement here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's an interesting question. I don't know. Is the quarterback from UWE, is he at Bristol or is he somewhere else?
I'd heard that, but I also know that some of those UWE guys have gone to a couple of European teams. I think a fair few of them have gone to Leicester. That's an interesting journey. So yeah, I suppose it depends on how many of those guys they've recruited, how many of those UWE guys were serious contributors at UWE.
Yeah.
And whether Bristol just have the might, the power, the speed to deal with the Warriors.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an interesting one, as you say. This one's more about Bristol than it is about the Warriors at this point, because they've got a chance, obviously, to kind of shock the world, as it were. Yeah, I mean, Ian's saying doesn't see anyone but Manchester taking a game to the Warriors, so you have to hide your smile there, Sam, on that one.
Certainly what we're planning on, but we've got, 8 games before that? 9 games? I can't do maths very well. We've got quite a few games before we get to that point, so we'll focus on Sheffield for now.
Another good game from this week, Merseyside Nighthawks and Edinburgh Wolves. Now, Edinburgh played Leicester in the pre-season and got a victory over them there. Merseyside, I didn't really know what to make of them last year. I mean, you'll know far more than I do, but they had 2 very good games against Chester, very close games with Chester, where they scored a ton of points, but they also shipped a bucket load of points. However, we're also talking about how explosive that Chester Romans offense is. Does this come down to which of these 2 teams realistically plays better defense? And normally in that case, I would side with the Wolves. But I still feel like the Merseyside Nighthawks should win this game.
So the first thing is, which one will Merseyside be more annoyed at? The fact that we call them Skelmersdale, or the fact that you've spelt Nighthawks with a K? I'm wondering which one.
I'm dyslexic in my defense, so
we just recognise that Merseyside is its own county and that the Nighthawks play in Skelmersdale, which is in Ormskirk in Lancashire. But we don't spell it with a K. In my opinion, so last year with the Nighthawks, they still had that solid foundation of players there who really could make big plays, pull everyone in, pull everyone together, and kind of get stuff done. They've lost quite a few of those players. Some of those guys have gone to Chester. Some of those guys have come to us. I believe that their main quarterback has retired, and so now they have like 3 guys that I imagine they're in a battle with. There's Dom Wu, who is more of like a receiver, running type, but can pass the ball. He played quarterback at Liverpool. There's Nathan Baker, who played at Edge Hill and Northumberland for a little while. And there's Luke Ryan, who was there last year playing backup for them. Ultimately, for me, this is going to come down to defense, and the Edinburgh Wolves defense is a very, very tough defense. The Nighthawks play kind of a bend but don't break type thing, and in years past, it was a bit more difficult to deal with because they had those really skilled players, those really experienced players. They've lost those now, and they might have some really good talent coming up from those 2 Liverpool teams. But I think that the Wolves will have too much. If the Wolves have Jamie back, their quarterback, which I know that they do, but I'm aware they're travelling. If Jamie's there, if they have Thomas Campbell, TC, he could take over the game on his own. And then you have their defense with guys like Ross and I might get his name wrong, James Lang. Very, very talented linebackers. Edinburgh Wolves, I think, will take this game, and the Merseyside Nighthawks will use this year to rebuild.
Fair enough. We've got 4 more to go through. The Ouse Valley Eagles and the Norwich Devils. Now, the Norwich Devils are probably one of mine, Sean's top teams for that conference anyway. We expect them to win that conference. Ouse Valley obviously got a good win against Colchester, which we didn't necessarily expect in the first game of the season. But, Norwich seemed to benefit a great deal from the Bury Saints, going under. And I just expect they're just going to have too much. I fully expect the Devils to win. I expect them to win it quite comfortably, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm aware of Ouse Valley from a few years ago. They seem to be on this really big ascension, and then all of a sudden, I think it just stopped. And all I see from Norwich is a lot of good social media stuff, to be honest, actually. So I can't base their performance based on that. So I will, I'll bow out.
That is a seriously interesting prediction, Nathan. I mean, that's out of left field, that one. That's a big score.
I don't know if I think it's unfair. I think Jamie's a very good quarterback.
I agree. I agree.
And that defense, man, it's, again, remember that Scottish people, they're trying to kill you. So...
I did mean to reply to that earlier. Take it from somebody that is Scottish. They try and kill other Scottish people.
Okay, yeah. So it's just pure hatred towards everybody. Okay, yeah.
I quite enjoyed this one. So as Devils D captain, I better say our win. And then he's backed up by saying 40 plus with a shutout. So
goodness me.
I mean, fair enough. That's up to you if you want to put that out there for other people to see. I need to put that way first. We have the Oxford Saints against the South Wales Warriors. Now, the Oxford Saints beat Portsmouth Dreadnoughts in week 1, which was great because they really struggled, the previous year. So it was nice to see them get that win on the board. The South Wales Warriors are 0-2, but they gave the Hertfordshire Cheetahs a really good defensive game, and then had a pretty decent offensive showing against the Rushmore Knights. And realistically, I think this is South Wales' game to lose.
I know nothing other than the obvious about South Wales, and so I will refuse to say that I want them or think that they will win. And that's all I'll say about
that. Fair enough. There we go. The best QB in the north outside of Manchester.
Thank you, Nathan. That's very kind.
This is a coach from the Highland Stags, saying we just hug with vigor. That's all it is.
Yeah, it feels like it, yeah.
What's it going to... Right, so last two. So we've got the Scunthorpe Alphas and the Humber Warhawks. Now, both these teams had fairly similar scores against the South Lincolnshire Lightning. And I really didn't know which way I wanted to call this one, but I'm going to go with experience over absolute sick unis on this one. This is kind of so. I'm going to go with the Humber Warhawks to get the win on this one.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. As long as the Alphas are wearing their white kit, then they'll get some great promotional material from it regardless.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't see that coming.
Ian's going for it tonight, isn't he?
He's just slinging them out there. I love it. Who knows? Maybe they will. But I'm going to go with the more experience of Humber, I reckon. And finally, the London Blitz B and the London Hornets. Now, London Blitz B have had a little bit of a struggle start this year. They lost to the Spartans, and then they lost last week to the Stallions. And, the Hornets got that win against the Cats in their opening game of the season. So, I mean, there's clearly talent on that London Hornets team. You know, they're clearly a very talented team. And you know, they kind of the scalp of the Cats was a good, strong win. Yeah, I think the Hornets get the job done. I think, you know, we start to show a little bit of concern for the Blitz after this if they go 0-3. You know, but yeah, I think the Hornets have enough. You'll be disappointed to hear that the Alphas will be wearing blue.
Oh, that is this. If you've got a white 21, guys, inbox me. I want that kit so bad. With regards to the Hornets and the Blitz, yeah, I've seen some bits and bobs from the Hornets. Again, it's all social media based, but they look like they have quite a physically, you know, strong team. They look like they have some really physically impressive players. So I would go with Hornets based on the fact that they've won a game, and based on the fact that Blitz have lost 2.
Yeah,
I think that's a fair assessment.
yeah, definitely, I'd agree with that. And you know, Russell's saying about how the Blitz are new to Division 1. Yeah, I'm aware of that. However, they did also get to play a lot of Division 1 opponents last year, and they won some games, put up some good scores. So I was actually quite surprised to see them kind of fall to that 0-2. But that's where we are. I can only but apologise for the lack of play of the week. My computer just does not cope with it, unfortunately. And obviously, we're a bit earlier this week because I will be unavailable from Friday onwards, and Sean's away. But do not forget to tune in to Game Day Live on Sunday. Keep up with all the scores. If you're at games, you know, use the hashtag Game Day Live so the guys can keep the scores up to date. You know, just it helps them keep the show rolling as well. You know, if we're getting actually updates from games, we can kind of carry things on, and it makes things a lot better as well, and it keeps people up to date with your games. Outside of that, there is a rookies only show coming on here in 4 minutes. So you get a nice little double header tonight. Look at that. We're spoiling you. There's 2 live shows for people to enjoy tonight. For anyone who's a rookie of the sport or whatever, and a chance to kind of ask any questions that you might have as a new person in. Outside of that, I'd like to thank my guest Sam for joining us. You know, it's been a pleasure having you on, and thanks for filling in for Sean as well as being a guest. So that was always useful for me.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. And obviously wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. Maybe speak to you again before the end of the year as well.
Yeah.
And as for everyone else, you know, thanks for joining us again. Again, I will apologize for the technical difficulties. Only so much I can do on my own, and the cat's made up of
And my cats. You did so well. I'm going to pop you down.
But no, thanks again, guys, and hopefully I'll be back to usual time slot next week. Right. Cheers, guys.